What is a taboo subject that should be talked about more? Child-infant death. When my daughter died, a bunch of people just stopped talking to me altogether. Girls need to know everything there is to know about menstruation before they experience it. At my school we were only given a quick every month you will bleed out your vagina, you can use pads or tampons absorb it. Nothing about any of the other mental or physical effects, nothing about how to deal with them, and nothing else reassuring. Nursing homes. Household budgets and finance your parents make, how much is the mortgage, car insurance, car payment, and so on. Death. Alcoholism, especially in older generations. Comprehensive sex ed. My mother never had sex ed and was convinced that vaginal discharge wasn't normal and that your crotch didn't sweat. Grimacing face. Loneliness epidemic. Suicide and suicidal thoughts. I lost my sister to suicide. I believe if there wasn't a stigma around mental health, yes, it's improved the last 20 years thankfully, but still a long way to go, she would still be here today. If you're struggling, please reach out to someone. Pay at work. TikTok and scrolling addiction. Pedophilia and how to break the cycle of abuse. Pooping and poop problems. Colon cancer is so common and relatively treatable, but like all cancers it's so much better to catch it early, yet so many people are too embarrassed to talk about poop problems, and they don't bring it up with their doctor until it's too late. I have ulcerative colitis and make sure all my friends know I'm totally comfortable talking about poop if they ever have any questions about whether something happening to them is normal or concerning. Postpartum care for mothers. Physically, mentally, and emotionally, we need more education. No one prepared me for what was coming, but now that I know, I tell everyone I can. Not in a fear-mongering way, but in a way to prepare women for the ways they can care for themselves during a time they have to give so much. Periods. Sex education. It shouldn't be taboo, but a very vocal minority makes it so. History. All of it. There always seems to be something new coming to light. Financial abuse. I am starting over in life, in my late 40s, after decades of financial abuse which was also accompanied by other abuse. It's almost never only financial abuse. Abusers use all methods of manipulation, lies, control, abuse that they can, on their victims. It took me, waking up, really learning, paying attention to red flags in people. So, really, along with financial abuse, it should go hand in hand with education on toxic, abusive people. Suicide. Mental health. Listen to your fellow people if they hint at something. Don't ignore it and change topic because you think it will be awkward. Yeah, first time will be, but it will greatly help someone in need and even yourself. Addiction. There is so much stigma attached to this, which functions as a significant barrier to proper diagnosis and treatment. All the studies and research demonstrate that addiction is a literal disease of the reward feedback system of the brain. It is not a moral failing as a lot of people see it as. There's a lot of complex stuff happening under the hood. It's a clinically manageable condition with proper social support and medication therapy, and I wish we would talk about this more and recognize it as a legitimate disease to help people get help. Miscarriages. Sex and sex-related things. IDK, but I think we should be aware of how the opposite sex functions. The dangers and wonders of sex. Basic hygiene. I get kids being weirded out by period stains and boners, but people over 18 acting weird about it is absurd. Toxic workplaces and behaviors. Family estrangement. Miscarriages. Everyone brushes that under the rug, but it's more common than you think. The number of people who are alcoholics, but social media got them joking like it's cute or trendy. No, Brenda, drinking a bottle of wine per day isn't cool, and your mommy's sippy cup wine glass you bought of Etsy is fairly ironic. DNRs, scope of treatment, and palliative care. People need to understand what it actually means to live through enact these things, because learning in the moment is traumatic for everyone involved and often prevents a good death. Mental illness. Schizophrenia. Risks and health effects of pregnancy. Mortality, our own and others. How to do taxes. Male suicides. How absolutely fucked the US prison system is, and how many people with psychiatric issues end up in prisons with no hope of productive treatment. Pretty privilege. I think no one is willing to admit that if you're good-looking, life is significantly easier. Child rape at the hands of the Catholic Church. Actually learning shit from school because the current system is about temporary memory storage and not actual learning. Cause sure, I can go grab a book, memorize 20 facts and pass a test, but if you force someone to actually use their head for a test, they have to actually learn, not just the mitochondria is the powerhouse of Giselle Duura. Bipolar disorder. For of the United States is bipolar, which is nearly 1 in 20 people. Death. There are practical things to be done about it, but no one wants to talk about it or prepare. Get your affairs in order and don't burden people with your laziness. Perimenopause, menopause. It's not just a women's issue. Anyone in a relationship marriage with a woman in their 30s or later should know about this, be supportive through that. It takes its toll. Parents giving their children iPhones and sticking screens in front of babies' faces instead of actually being a parent. Wages should be public knowledge. I would argue assisted suicide. We do things to human beings in the last few weeks or months of their life that we wouldn't do to a dog. Wage transparency. Also, where the money from trickle-down economics went, considering it never trickled down, and why it didn't. Domestic violence and how to get help for abusers without dismissing what they did wrong. Invisible disabilities and their needs and reasonable adjustments. Mental illness. I'm not just talking regular depression and anxiety. I'm talking stigmatized, severe mental illnesses that usually require rigorous therapy, and then those who have them are punished for not getting said therapy because of the stigma. Rigorous therapy that often requires you to pause your entire life, at least for a period of time. All the ones people inevitably demonize or are just plain wrong about it, or both. Schizophrenia, NPD, BPD, bipolar 1 and 2, dissociative identity disorder, and honestly eating disorders too. Assisted suicide. I'm talking about when PPL's sick ill to the point where the quality of life is all gone. They should have the choice of exiting this world without suffering. Unsure if it qualifies, but I am a pretty decent-looking and kind-hearted person. Yet I am still single my whole life so far because I'm autistic. Because people don't like people that are different. I talk weird. I think weird. I can't read body language. People act like autism is the end-all of a person, but there is so much more to me, and if anything, I am probably a more interesting person than almost everyone else around. The war on drugs will never be won. Decriminalize and control is the answer. Not everyone has a picture-perfect, clean, Pinterest-worthy house. Bruno. Our governments are literally fucking us up the ass and we bend over for them. Miscarriages. Sex. It's a part of almost everyone's life, yet we still dance around the subject. The cornucopia of fetishes in modern porn. Non-offending pedophiles. There are actual people attracted to children who know it's wrong and don't allow themselves to be around children hurt anyone. They should be allowed proper mental treatment and not be automatically